Transphobic coworker keeps deadnaming my employee to honor his mother. So the boss intervened and made her unemployed. I have managed John, a transgender man, for about 2 years. John does not keep his transgender status a secret, but he also doesn't go out of his way to tell people, so some people know and some don't. Lizzie recently transferred to a department that works closely with ours. She previously did not know that John was trans, but now that she's interacting with him much more often, she's found out. At first, she didn't seem to have an issue with him, but then she discovered some articles he published while still going by Sally. Now she insists on calling him Sally. She claims that she has no problem with trans people, but that she feels it's important to call John by the name he was given at birth out of respect for his mother. John's mother does not work for our company, and to the best of my knowledge, she and Lizzie have never met. John and I have both asked her to stop, but she refuses. Not only is Lizzie's insistence on deadnaming John offensive, it is confusing, because many people don't understand who she's talking about when she mentions Sally. I tried casually correcting her in the moment, as if I thought she was making a mistake, and John has outright refused to answer to the name Sally, but she keeps saying that as if respectful to his mother to use the name she didn't choose for him. John complained to HR, but they said that because she is not explicitly harassing him for being trans, they can't do anything. John has now started exclusively calling Lizzie Elizabeth. There is another Elizabeth in the office, and if there's any confusion over which Elizabeth he's talking about, John uses Lizzie's maiden name, rather than her married name. Lizzie hates this and has complained to him, me, and half the office, but he says it's out of respect for her mother. I set up a meeting once and for all of those involved. I said that Lizzie's offensive behavior towards John had gone on way too long and that she needed to stop calling him any name other. And John immediately. She tried to say that she had no problem with transgender people and that it was a matter of respect for his mother, but I interrupted her and said that John's mother and her feelings were irrelevant and that she was being deeply disrespectful to John, who was actually her coworker and thus actually needed her respect. I also said that it didn't matter how she felt about trans people or if she didn't intend to be transphobic. Purposely calling John by his dead name was a transphobic action and it needed to stop, and that until I could transfer to trans with respect, she was not to attend any of our team meetings and any workload that would normally packed between him and John would go treat me first and it would pass on the end of her meeting. Her boss spoke for the first time then and said that that sounded like it might make us miss deadlines on some of our tighter turnarounds, which I agreed was true, but given that Lizzie refused to use John's name, I felt I had an ethical duty to prevent her from speaking to him at all, not to mention that allowing her to continue harassing him would open us up to litigation. I tried to say this all as matter-of-factly as possible, so it would be clear that I didn't care how Lizzie felt about mothers or trans people, and that I wasn't asking for suggestions on what should be done. After that meeting, I emailed my team and explained that due to Lizzie's outrageous and offensive behavior, I was changing our procedures so that she and John would no longer have direct contact and that they should expect some delays in communication between her and our team. I also apologized for having allowed her to behave in such a blatantly transphobic fashion for close to a month, which should never have been tolerated at all, and explained that I had told her that she had to stop immediately, so if she referred to John as Sally again, they should let me know, either by forwarding me an email if it was in writing or by documenting the incident if it were over the phone or video chat, and should also feel free to tell her that she was being offensive and needed to stop. This is when things get satisfying. My boss was included on the email to my team, and he called me about half an hour later asking about it. I hadn't told him much about the Lizzie situation, because he has very little patience for people complaining about their interpersonal conflicts to their boss, and while this is a lot more significant than an interpersonal conflict, I thought he wouldn't want to hear about it anyway, especially since he doesn't have much contact with my team in normal times and has had even less while we've been virtual. Once I explained what had been happening, he said that was the most ridiculous thing he'd ever heard and set up a meeting for the two of us with the head of HR for the next day. The head of HR agreed that this was outrageous thing HRs would never have tolerated. A week later, Lizzie got fired. Then the HR rep who had said this wasn't explicitly transphobic got fired about a week and a half later. Lizzie's boss had to undergo some extensive management training, and there's talk that he may transfer to a position without direct reports. The entire company got an anonymous survey asking if we had ever been harassed or felt we were the victim of discrimination in the workplace. The head of HR personally apologized to John for the first HR rep's mishandling of the case and encouraged him to come to her if he ever felt harassed based on his gender identity.